Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a very, very tricky show that I think is going to piss off some people. Some people are going to agree with, but it's something we really want to get into. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Today we got something that's going to cause a little bit of controversy, probably based on some of the things that I'm going to say. But as you guys know, and I think we covered this a few years ago, at least a year ago, Tom Brady had inked a deal with Fox Sports where they were going to be paying him $375 million over 10 years. So basically $37 million, I think 500,000, whatever it is per annum. So at the time when I heard the deal, I'm like, man, that's a mega deal, right? That's a mega deal. But then you think of the name, you're like, well, it's Tom freaking Brady, right? It's Tom Brady, 7-time Super Bowl champ. Like, it's Tom Brady. Like, when you talk about Tom Brady, you're talking about the Michael Jordans, or like he's in that group, right, of athletes, right? Like top tier, the best football player overall, or greatest, however you want to call it, to ever play in the NFL. But apparently some people are confounded about the contract that people like Tom Brady and others are receiving from these major networks to talk sports. And one of those people is Cam Newton. And the person that actually brought this to my attention was Stephen A. Smith, because I actually came across a show where Stephen A. Smith was responding to some of the comments that Cam Newton made in terms of Tom Brady getting those contracts. And he was essentially questioning, like, what kind of media training is Tom Brady doing? Like, what qualifies him to get this type of contract? And Stephen A. Smith he pushed back on Cam Newton pretty vehemently, because it seemed like Cam Newton was trying to suggest that race is the reason that Fox Sports gave Tom Brady a $375 million deal to talk about football. So that's what we want to get into. So what we want to do now is we actually want to play what Stephen A. Smith had to say. I want you guys to listen to his entire argument, and then we're going to come back and really get into the meat and potatoes of the show. Take a listen to that there.
7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady signed a 10-year, $375 million contract with Fox Sports in May 2022 to become their top NFL analyst. He will finally make his broadcasting debut this fall. Months after retiring for the Philadelphia Eagles, Jason Kelce signed a multi-year contract with ESPN and will join the Monday Night Countdown pregame crew and will be an analyst for the Monday Night Football halftime program. Cam questioned why the same opportunities aren't given to athletes of color too. And he said this, quote, "I'm always going to tell Tom Brady, Tony Romo, Greg Olsen, Troy Aikman, Matt Ryan to go get the bag. What I am doing is saying, how in the world are they the only ones that's getting access to these types of contracts? Because somebody told me, well, you don't get these contracts because you're not polished yet. What type of media training did Tony Romo have before he just popped up commentating on the game?" End quote. Let me try to be highly sensitive to this, because this is my brother we talk about, Cam Newton here. Take Tom Brady out of the sentence. Take him off the subject matter. He's a 7-time Super Bowl champion, okay? He has the credentials to talk football. He knows it inside out as a quarterback, a Super Bowl champion quarterback. You played the same position. You went to one Super Bowl and lost. He won 7. He went to 10. You see the difference? You can't put Tom Brady. You got a point with Tony Romo. I'm not talking about Tony Romo's talent in the booth. I'm talking about the road he traveled to get to the booth. You do have a point there, but one could argue he's a cowboy. Take Troy Aikman out, 3-time Super Bowl champion for the Dallas Cowboys. So not only does he have the backdrop and the cachet and the prowess of being a former Cowboy, America's team, worth $9 billion, when everybody else is worth $5 billion. With the Commanders, Josh Harris bought that for $6 billion with his group. But the Cowboys do resonate. So you can't use Troy Aikman, who's got that and 3 Super Bowl championships, and you damn sure can't bring Tom Brady into the equation. When you win 7 Super Bowls, when you won more Super Bowls than Terry Bradshaw, than Joe Montana, than Troy Aikman, than Steve Young, than John Elway, than Roger Staubach, when you've won more Super Bowls than anybody in the sport when you yourself as an individual has won more Super Bowls than 99% of the teams in the league? Actually, 100%, because I don't know one franchise that has 7 Super Bowl championships, because he got one with Tampa. You can't question anything about Tom Brady. 10 years, $375 million, damn it, he deserves every penny. Troy Aikman deserves his bag. Tony Romo, he was a Cowboy. He's damn good at his job, but Cam makes a good point. Matt Ryan, yet to be seen. Went to the Super Bowl, blew a 25-point lead, never won a Super Bowl championship, might be going to the Hall of Fame, but I get where Cam's coming from. Overall, Cam, here's what it gets back to. You have to look the part to some degree, be the part. You have to be somebody. It ain't just about being polished. It's about a willingness to be. It's not about telling the world you want to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, but I want your money. You got to show a willingness to capitulate to those who are paying the money and what they want to some degree, not totally. We ain't talking about selling your soul. We're not talking about shedding who you are and what you bring to the table. But if the look, along with how polished you come across, is what matters to them, and they're the ones with the bag. If you want the bag, you got to capitulate. See, what we got to stop doing is lying to people, especially youngsters on the come up. You can do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, without giving a damn about what anybody else wants or what anybody else feels, but I still want your money. No.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say. First of all, let me say this. When he was speaking, I was listening very, very, very carefully to ascertain the points he was making and understand whether or not he was being fair. He brought up the point of Tom Brady having the credentials to speak about football at a high level based off of his resume, and therefore that would garner him such a contract. For that, I 100% agree. If you look at Tom Brady's resume, who better to talk football than Tom Brady? Who better? When you look at the Super Bowls and all of those things that he's won, also the position that he played as a quarterback, so it's really hard to argue against anybody else. And if you're arguing in terms of the juxtaposition between, for example, instead of giving a Tom Brady that type of contract versus a Cam Newton, I don't think you can make any argument to give Cam Newton a similar contract if you have similar dollars, if you can go out there and get a Tom Brady. Because although Cam Newton went to the Super Bowl, I don't think he won a Super Bowl. Tom Brady did it 7 times. And he has all of these other records where, and most people regard him as the greatest NFL player ever. That's like usually what most people think, right? So in the case of Fox Sports giving him a $375 million deal, it's a no-brainer because you can't find a more qualified candidate out there. So from that standpoint, Stephen A. Smith is 100% correct. It's like ESPN giving Michael Jordan a $500 million contract to talk about that. Like, who's arguing this, right? So you have that aspect of it there. Then Cam Newton talked about, why don't athletes of color get these type of contracts? And some people brought up other examples. Well, look at television, like look at Shannon Sharp, look at all of these other people that are getting some pretty lucrative deals. And Stephen A. Smith then touched on a larger point, which was, and I think this is where people may get upset with him, but I really want to unpack this carefully. He spoke about, your appearance, how you dress, the way you compose yourself. And if the way you dress, or rather the way you present yourself, doesn't align with some of the things that these big organizations may want, they may look in another direction. Now, some people, if we're going to speak plainly, may be talking about Cam Newton's appearance, not his race, his appearance. Maybe with his hairstyle, maybe his style of dressing, that may be off-putting to some of these guys at these networks. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. Maybe they want someone that dresses a little bit more conventionally. And I think that's the point where he was making towards the end. Now, some people may hear his comments and say, wait a minute, bro, he's expressing himself as a black guy. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Are you saying that he shouldn't be who he wants to be? There, people are going to hear what Stephen A. Smith just said and say that. And to be totally frank with you, I understand that, right? I get it entirely. It's like somebody that likes, I don't know, like when Michael Vick said that, when he went on Undisputed and said that what's the guy's name? What's the guy that was protesting? I forgot his name. His name just totally escapes me right now. He was protesting and kneeling. Colin Kaepernick. I know some of y'all are watching like, it's Colin Kaepernick, bro. Like, it's right there. Anyway, when he said that Colin Kaepernick should cut his hair, I was like, what in the bloody hell are you talking about? The guy has an afro. Some black people, if they let their hair grow, it becomes an afro. It's a natural look. I'm like, why would he need to cut his hair like that? That didn't sit well with me. And I think he retracted those statements, or he tried to walk them back. In the case of Tom Brady's race playing an element in terms of a white guy, does that play a role? I think it plays a role, but not a significant enough role for it to matter. In the sense that, look, people generally associate with their race, but I don't think in sports it really matters here. The reason I say that is because in sports, the people that are heralded, at least today, they're heralded for their performances, regardless of their color. I remember seeing Jesse Ventura cry like a baby on one of those interviews, talking about his favorite athlete of all time was Muhammad Ali. Crying, this is a grown man, I think with grandchildren, crying like a baby, talking about how much of a hero Muhammad Ali was to him. Muhammad Ali is a black guy, but it's his character, what he did, what he stood for. He said a man that felt that strongly about his convictions. That's a man. Like, so he cried. And this is a white man crying over a black guy. And then you look at a Skip Bayless, who's a white guy, and the way he praises Michael Jordan, you would think he was like the second coming of, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think it really matters that. I don't think that plays a role. I think what plays a role is Tom Brady's exceptional resume. I think ultimately that is what determined the contract that he got. And there aren't a lot of people out there that with that contract. Again, if Michael Jordan decided he wanted to talk sports, he would get a similar deal. If LeBron James decided he wanted to talk sports at a particular network, he would get, because these are the pantheon players. And the more you accomplish in your career, the higher the chances are. Now, in terms of your presentation and all of that, does it play a role? You better believe it. Is it something that we as blacks need to be aware of? You better believe it. And by the way, if you believe that, look, I am not willing to forego maybe certain ways I want to dress or give up certain things or my appearance and all of that, no one is stopping you. It is important that we state that. No one is saying you must do it. What people are saying is be aware that if you don't adhere to some of the norms that exist maybe in corporate America, you'll be penalized for it, because some people may not be comfortable with it. Some people may not understand it from a cultural standpoint than you. And guess what? People have different cultures. They're not going to understand it. It's just the reality. So if you want it to be different, then you just start your own bloody company and you can go in there and dress how you want to dress. It is literally that simple. If you want to work for a company and they say you have to wear pink polos and you don't like wearing pink, they're not going to change the policy because of you. They're just going to say, you're going to be like, well, I don't want to work here. They're going to say, well, why are they forcing me to wear pink shirts? Why? Then go find another job. You're the one looking for money from them. Who's forcing you to go work for them? That's the way to look at it. Now, some people disagree. Oh, man, you're not defending. And I'm calling it like how I'm calling it exactly how I see it. I agree with some of the points that he said. I disagree with some of the points, but I don't believe they gave him that contract because he's white. I believe they gave it to him because he was the greatest NFL player of all time. And I believe that if LeBron or Michael Jordan, one of these guys, went out there and decided they wanted to talk sports, they would get a similar deal and no one would ask a single question. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comment section. We catch you guys on the next show. Peace.